Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain.
And I'm Alex.
And today we're going to be reviewing and talking about and showing you how to play Skytear. So, Skytear is a board game based on MOBA video games. It is a big hex map, strategy, war, area control game. There's a lot going on here.
There's hand management and...
Oh, yeah. There's a ton going on here. So before we get too into this, I do want to say I want to give a big thank you to the designers and to PvP Geeks, the company that published Skytear, for this review copy to be able to play and review and film some content with. Thank you guys very much. This game was designed by, it's not on the box, but we have it over here from BGG.
Giacomo Neri, Riccardo Neri, and Riccardo Parmigiani.
Okay, so they are the designers for Skytear, and again, it was published by PvP Geeks. Now, before we get into the review, I do want to say that we've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain, and Lynn and I have started doing some semi-regular blog posts over there. There's also a link to my Patreon if you're in a position to like to support the channel, link in the description below, and there's a link to my Teespring store if you'd like to get yourself some cool gamer gear, some Board Game Captain merch, t-shirts, mugs, etc. Link in the description down below. All right, so let's get into this. So now there's not a age recommendation listed on this, but it has listed as 2 to 4 players and for 45 minutes. Now, this is one of those games where, in regard to the 2 to 4 players, I feel like this is a 2-player game. There are some alternate, team games in here, but it really feels to me like this is more of a 2-player game. What do you think?
I think so. I think it would be, you could do 2-player, you could do teams, maybe, 2-on-2 or something like that, but this is definitely a two-sided game.
We played it a couple times at 2 players. I did see there are rules in here to take it, I think, all the way up to 8 players, actually, even though it only says 4 on the box.
With the variants, yeah.
Yeah, with the variants. Yeah. But we've mainly been playing it 2, and it really feels good at 2, so I definitely think 2 is, where this is at. But I could see doing, 2-on-2 if you did teams would be really cool. Because you could share responsibility and talk back and forth and strategize. That could be fun.
Yeah, and there's enough involved in this game to keep a team busy.
Yeah, because you could remind each other about a lot of things too. Yeah, because there's a lot going on here. Now, 45 minutes it feels like an underestimate to me.
Yeah, I think they put 45 minutes on the box for the same reason they didn't put an age on the box.
Well, this is kind of a longer game. This has a longer time investment. I'd say once you're practiced at it, once you're played a few times, you might be able to get it down to an hour, but 45 feels a little optimistic.
That is an aspirational time frame. But like I said, I think they didn't put an age on there because I think it would have, to be honest, it would probably turn some people off to the game.
So I think the age probably would be, if I had to guess, I'd say 14.
I said 15. Yeah. There's a lot going on in this game.
Yes.
Now an adult could play this if you did a team. An adult could play this with a younger teenager, I think.
Yeah.
And keep it moving.
In a house where people play board games,
right?
Someone under 14 might be able to get it if they're routinely getting board games that are fairly complex.
Right. I think a couple 12-year-olds would have a rough time playing the standard version of this
unless they were advanced. Yeah, unless they were advanced. All right, so let's open up, have a little talk about what comes in the box. That was the box, I swear. So first thing we have is rules. Now, I want to talk about this because this is really cool. They have 2 rule books. There is a standard just rule book, which is done very matter-of-factly. It tells the story of how you're, the different factions and how you're going to be fighting over the floating islands, and then it just goes through all of the rules very matter-of-factly. I like this kind of format. Some people don't, though. And for those people who don't like this format, there's a second rule book that literally has you sit down and play out a full round of the game to see how all the main mechanics work. Mm-hmm. So I like that they did this. This is really cool.
Yeah, this is more for people like me.
So so here's yours, here's mine.
Right.
They're both full color with
very nicely done.
Lots of diagrams. There's lots of text, but there's also lots of diagrams. Like you'll have text and then diagrams on the bottom.
Right.
Very well done. There was no real issues I had with the rules after reading it. There was one thing I was a little unsure on. They did say how it worked once I understood it, but I did need to look up. They have some videos also on their website, and I looked at their videos, and then I was like, oh, I get it. I was just being thick. But once I got it. It was fine. Now, it took a little while to teach you. I'd say I was probably telling you rules for 45 minutes. What did you think?
Yeah, between the finishing the setup and explaining the rules, there's quite a bit to this. You budget an hour to get through the first, before you even start playing, to get through the first game.
Because it's not that it's super complex, but there are a lot of rules to talk about.
There's a lot going on.
So now for different versions of the game, there is a double-sided board. I'm going to fold this out here. So this is, help me out here. This is the main board you're going to be seeing out on the table with us while we're playing. And it is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
Very nice board, yeah.
You're on this floating island. You have this energy dome in the middle. You have the lanes and the places you place the towers. It has places for all the cards and the health trackers up and bottom below, and a turn tracker over there, because this goes for 5 turns and then it stops if no one's clearly won. And there's a different board with 3 lanes and 2 domes of energy for some of the variants. This is really cool. I like that they have lots of stuff in here to keep the game fun and interesting and evolving from game to game. In addition, the starting game comes with a ton of cards, which you're going to see out on the table, a ton of cardboard punch-out tokens, and a ton of awesome miniatures and a really nice insert. Now I'm going to pull a few of these miniatures out to show to the camera right now, but mostly you're going to see these out on the table. I want to start with a couple of the heroes, because these are just beautiful. And I've seen people online have been painting these.
They look like they were meant to be painted.
Yeah, they're just gorgeous. So you have heroes which look like all sorts. Like this guy's a werebear here. I love him. This guy looks like an Aztec warrior. Absolutely fantastic. The heroes, and then you have these littler miniatures that are minions that look like elementals. Like this dude's like a fire elemental. He's all on fire. And then there's this giant miniature, a bit of an oxymoron, if you will, for this giant monster, which you'll see when we're playing the game. He comes out when you summon him. He's called the Outsider. And actually, there's a ton of expansions for this, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about when we're doing the review at the end. There's a ton of other content for this, and they have more heroes, more cards. The cards are really pretty. I'm just going to show a couple of them here.
Very nice, actually.
Some very nice produced cards that are. They feel substantial, and they're shiny finished,
and they're nearly the right size. They're just about the size of a normal playing card.
Yeah, so these are
nice.
I'm just going to show one more here. So but there is a ton of other content out there, which actually, spoiler alert, has me drooling. We'll get to that in a minute. But for now, let's head over to the table. I don't want to waste too much time before we get into showing you how to play. We're going to show you how to play this game. When we're done, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about how this game plays and feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, so here we are set up to play a game of Skytear. So I am sitting on this side of the table over here, and I am going to be playing the blue and yellow factions, which the blue faction is called Leothin, and the yellow faction is Nupton.
I'm Alex. I'm over here on this side of the board. All right, so I'm playing the red and the green. This is the Kurumo and the Telak.
All right, so there's a lot to do to set up this game. We have to shuffle up the various objectives and deal 3 extra objectives out here on the board in addition to the normal objective of the game. We have to draft our factions. In the more advanced game, you can draft individual characters as well as drafting cards to make your deck. But in the basic version of the game, you can draft factions. So when we started with Alex as the first player, he drafted the green faction. Then I drafted the blue and the yellow because they work well together, because there is one character in each of the factions that can play cards from the other faction. And then Alex, of course, wound up with the red faction. So then you take the cards from your 2 factions, you shuffle them up into a deck. The first player gets to draw 6 cards from their deck, and they take the extra card of the Skytear Flux, while the second player draws only 5 cards, and that's because there is a bit of a disadvantage to going second. You set your hit points for all of your characters on the appropriate place on the hit point track. You set the turn counter to turn 1. You play the outsider card out onto the board. You get all of your appropriate tokens as well as miniatures out, and you're ready to play. You place your heroes adjacent to your nexus, and you put the heroes from one faction on one side and the other on the other, and then you take 2 of your minions of the faction corresponding to the heroes on that side and place 1 on the control point on the left and 1 off to the left of it, while doing the reverse, 1 on it and 1 to the right on the other side for the other faction's minions. then you're ready to play. Now, there's a lot going on in this game, so I think we're going to do a little bit of showing rather than telling. We're going to kind of show you how all of this works, and when the various rules come up, we're just going to talk about them then. I think that would make the most sense. What do you think, Alex?
I think that's an excellent way to do it, because to start off would be an hour-long video just explaining how this game is played.
Yeah, the game, it's not that any of the rules are super complex, it's just there's a lot of rules. There's a lot going on here. So we're just going to jump on into it. So Alex is going to go first. So to start with, Alex has to pick one of his heroes to activate. So Alex, which one of your heroes are you going to activate?
I'm going to activate Tlacali. That is this hero here that is represented by this little figurine, and I'm going to activate. She gets 3 actions, and I have to do any one of those 3, but I cannot do the same one twice.
Yes, so each hero gets 3 actions every time you activate them. They have all of their abilities listed on their card, as well as their stats for combat and health and armor. And then on your cheat sheets, which the lovely cheat sheets it comes with, it has a listing of all of the actions your hero actions can do on the cheat sheets. And then on the back, it has listings of the keywords, the conditions, the minion phase, and the end of turn. So you have nice examples of everything. So what is the first action you're going to do with, what is her name again?
Tlacali.
Tlacali. What is Tlacali going to do for her first action?
Tlacali is going to move.
Okay.
So you move up to 3 hexes in any direction, and that counts as your first movement. Now, you cannot move through heroes, and you cannot move through
towers,
but you can move through minions. You just cannot move onto minions.
Correct.
So she's going to move her 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, so Tlacali is obviously making a stab at controlling this point here, because in order to control, lend your strength to controlling a point, you need to be within 3 spaces in line of sight of that control point.
Then, using the tracker here, I have used one of my action points, so I have 2 left. So that's why this is very helpful, because like we said, there's a lot going on.
So now what are you going to do for your second action?
Second action, I'm going to worship, which, depending on which faction you are using, means different things. For the green faction, I'm going to be placing a pillar.
Now, the pillars do not block movement or line of sight, but they do have extra effects for abilities for the green faction characters. So where are you going to be placing the pillar for Tlacali?
Tlacali is going. It has to be placed within 3 hexes in line of sight. So she will be placing this pillar right there. Pillars you can land on and move through.
Yes, indeed. They do not block movement or line of sight.
So now that brings me down to 1 action point left. So now that she's placed the pillar, let's go through what you get when you place a pillar. So this gives effect to when the pillar is near or adjacent to various things. So this one says, during the hero's phase, when a friendly minion is adjacent to a pillar, this and would lose hit points, Tlacali can prevent the loss and take those hit points on herself instead. Now, there's also an effect where you can eliminate pillars, and that gives you further abilities. In her case, it would be to heal a friendly hero who is adjacent to that pillar once it is removed.
So now, to destroy, to remove pillars, you remove them before placing a new one when you did the same action that you did right now. Now, just real quick, if that's minions that are adjacent to the pillar, is that what you said? She can take the damage on herself instead of the minions?
Correct.
Oh, wow. That is a really cool ability.
Right, so hence placing my minions, pillars there. It also gives other effects to the other character within the faction. So, like I said, we could explain this for a while, but it's better just to we'll just go along as we go.
So what is going to be your final action?
So my final action is going to place a card under Tlacali. This is called Lead, and this is going to make a...
It's a stab at trying to control the point even more powerfully.
Correct.
So now, the thing is, being within 3 spaces of the point lets you lend 1 point of control on the control point. All of your minions that are there lend a point of control as well. But if you lead, you add a card beneath your card. Now, you can either do it blindly from the top of your deck and not even look at it, but then you don't know how much power you're adding, or you can add it from your hand. Rather than do the card's ability, you're lending its current value, the cost that it would cost to play the card, which is the value up here in the corner that I'm showing here to the camera here. It would add that many points to control. So he's looking amongst the cards in his hand, seeing which one he's willing to part with, which one he thinks he doesn't want to use that maybe might give him a lot of control towards that control point. So you're all finished there?
So that will now exhaust Tilkali. So she's going to turn sideways, and I pass the action point counter to the other player.
All right, awesome. Well, that was a really, it was actually a really good functional first turn. I was going to say, you definitely have asserted some control over that particular control point in this lane. So I am going to activate Karyoff. Now, Karyoff is my mage. She's over here. Now, mages work slightly different than other characters in that they are able to ignore armor. All of their attacks get piercing when attacking people. So her first action I'm going to do with Karyoff is going to be very simple. I'm going to do a move, which is 3 spaces. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Now, a little word on line of sight. I am hiding in the bushes here. As you can see, there's a little eye symbol with a line through it. Enemies cannot see me to target me unless they or one of their allied heroes are adjacent to me. Otherwise, they cannot see me to target me. So that's where it makes a fairly safe place to be. In addition, this white line around this area in the center of the board, this area is known as the dome. It's a magical force field. You can cross it normally, but as long as you're on the other side of it, you can't see people on the other side of it. So people in it can see each other, people outside can see each other, but you can't see across it. So I'm in a nice kind of blocked line of sight area, but I can see out of my area to her, though again, cannot see into the dome. So that was my first action with Karyoff. So for my second action with Karyoff, I am going to do an attack. Now, Karyoff has a ranged attack. As shown on her card, it has a little bow and arrow, which means it is a range attack. Range attack have a range of 3 spaces. Then it has a number 3, that is for the power of the attack, and then a little card with a plus. That means it's 3 plus a card that I discard from my deck. So I'm going to do that right now. The card I discard has a little plus and then a number symbol here. Now I got a +0, so it actually didn't want it being a big attack. It's only a 3-point attack, but it is a 3-point attack on 1, 2, 3 spaces away on Takali, I believe was her name.
Takali, yeah, we'll go with that.
So
Takali.
3 points, but it does ignore armor.
It does ignore armor.
Yes.
Takali does have a point of armor. However, this ignores armor, so she's going to go down 3 points. 1, 2, 3.
Very good. Okay, so now that was my second action. I'm down to only 1 action left on Karyoff. I'm going to do lead, just like Alex did with his hero. I'm going to do lead as well, but I'm going to do it from the top of the deck. I'm going to do a blind one, only because I don't really want to give up the cards in my hand yet for this lead. So I'm hoping I got one with a lot of rune symbols in the top left corner, but I don't know. It's really a gamble on that regard. But then I'm going to exhaust my hero, and it's on to Alex.
Alrighty. Alright, so I am going to activate Kotlik.
The other green hero.
The other green hero. Kotlik is going to use the first action point to move 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, you're going hardcore for that control point. My goodness.
So that was first action point was for movement. Second action point is going to be a skirmish.
Oh, now this is a new thing we haven't explained yet.
So skirmish is going to move. So skirmish, you can do one of 3 things. You can move, or attack, but the attack is a light attack. You don't have to do all 3. You could do one of any of them, but you may do one of those 3 in any order.
And each of the moves is 1 space only.
Correct. So, Kotlik is going to do his first movement.
I'm going to get hit.
He's going to, and skirmishes cannot be used on minions.
Yes, that's very important.
Right.
So now you're going to hit my hero. It is a 0 strength, with the skirmish attack, it's a 0 strength +1 card. So let's see what the card's strength is.
That is a +1.
So that is a 1 point of damage to Karyoff. So I'm going to lower her on the hit point scale. So not too bad.
And then I will move 1 back.
Interesting.
I want to be adjacent to my pillar.
I was wondering why you moved away. Yeah.
Prior to my last action point, I'm going to cast Crawling Darkness. Using my, because since we're in the first phase and we only have mana of 1, using my Skytear Flux, I get to play it for 1 cheaper. So my 2 mana card is now a 1 mana card. I am applying it. Oh, I'm sorry. I am applying Disarm and Slow to the target
Wow. So disarm and slow, that is rough. So that means these status effects will remain with me until I am exhausted again. I am already exhausted, so that means next turn I will unexhaust, and then when I activate and exhaust again, then they will go away. But so slow means I will get 2 less movement when I do a move action. That's rough. And disarm means I have the damage rounded up when I do an attack on an opponent. Both of those are really, really bad status effects to have on you.
I will use my final action point to summon or to worship and bring in
another pillar.
I believe I'm gonna place this pillar here.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting.
And that will exhaust Kotlik.
Now, quick note about that. What Alex was saying when he was saying he was giving me a chance to react. I did not have a card that was going to stop that from happening. But cards that have the little reaction symbol,
like
this one here.
Yeah, the one I used, correct.
The reaction symbol can be played in reaction to any kind of action or any card that you play on your turn. Your opponent gets a chance to react, then you get a chance to react, and they go in reverse order, sort of like how they happen in Magic the Gathering, if you've ever played Magic the Gathering. So one person plays something, then the next person plays something, it goes on top of the stack, then the other person plays something, it goes on top of the stack. When you're all done playing things, you resolve them in reverse order, and when you get down to the thing that started the stack, if the conditions for it to have happened, like for instance, if you're trying to attack someone and you only could do melee attacks, and that target is no longer adjacent to you, the attack doesn't happen, but you're still charged the action point for doing it. So it's a very important part of the game. So now it's my turn to activate one of my heroes, because Alex is all done over there. I am going to activate Akuti. So Akuti, the first thing I'm going to do with her is I am going to do a movement. And I'm going to move 1, 2, and I'm going to sit over here in the brush to keep a bit out of sight. And then as her second action, I am going to do a worship action. So when doing a worship action with the yellow faction, the Nupton, what you do is you get to summon up one of their illusions. So I get to summon with Akuti, I summon up an illusion copy of Akuti in the same space that she is in, and then that illusion can move up to 3 spaces. So I'm going to move it. It goes 1, 2, 3. Now the only way for this illusion to be removed from the board is for one of my opponent's heroes to directly attack the illusion. Otherwise, it's going to be there, and it gives cool effects. So in the case of Akuti, her illusion that is within 3 spaces in line of sight of any other of her allied yellow heroes, it gives them all +1 armor. So now Akuti has +1 armor because she is in fact within range. In addition, she has an ability up here called Retribution that when Akuti resolves an attack action, she may deal a 1 attack in 1 card, 1 point of damage in 1 card, to an enemy minion adjacent to her illusion. As my final action, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do an attack. Now, she has a ranged attack. Her ranged attack is, of course, 3 spaces. It does 2 damage in a card. I'm going to target 1, 2, 3, my enemy's minion on this space with 2 damage plus a card. The card has a +1 to it, so it is 3 damage. So now the minions only have 1 life and no armor and can't attack. So unless Alex had a card to stop that was going to be basically it. But then that triggers Retribution, which also kills the other minion, all for 1 action there. So, yeah, Akuti came out on top there. That was her final action. She did a move. She did a worship to summon the illusion, and she wiped out both enemy minions on that control point. That's it for her, and it is Alex's turn. Something I wanted to note about the minions before Alex gets going here is, if you notice, our minions are sharing spaces with enemy minions. While minions cannot share spaces with heroes, you are allowed to share spaces, not with allied, but with enemy minions. They can share the same space. So when Alex gets to summon more minions, he may be able to summon them back into the spaces that they were just in there.
All right, so I'm going to activate Sakoshi.
Ooh.
This is Sakoshi right here. Sakoshi is going to do a skirmish action.
Okay.
However, there's not really going to be any attack involved in the skirmish action.
Just for the 2 moves.
Really just for a movement. So he's going to go 1, 2.
Nice in a hidden bush over there. Very good. And he's in range now of controlling the control point because he's 3 away. So
he's in range of the control point. So for my second action, I'm going to move 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And I am going to, for my third action, I'm going to bank a card.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to lead, as they say.
So for your lead in banking a card, you're going to take it off the deck this time?
Take a rando off the top of the deck.
All right. So 1 rando Calrissian placed under Alex's hero. And now it is back to being my turn. That was interesting, though. So I'm going to activate Haburat, my other yellow character here. He is the first executioner. So let's see here. For my first action with Haburat, I am going to move. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So he is already up there contesting that control point for me. For his second action, he is going to worship. So he's going to summon up his illusion. Okay, so then the illusion gets to move up to 3 spaces. Now for Haburat, his abilities with his illusion are that Haburat has +1 attack, meaning +1 damage, while attacking an enemy that is adjacent to his illusion. In addition, while a projected hero, now projected hero is one within 3 spaces of Haburat's illusion, damages an enemy minion with an attack action, you may move that hero 1 hex. So because of this, I want to have him near my enemy characters, but also still be kind of in range of my characters. So I'm going to move him 1, 2, 3 up here, which is in range of both my characters and adjacent to Alex's hero. So that is the best of both worlds right there. That is where you want to place this particular illusion. So that is his second action. I am going to bank a random card with Haburat to help him control that control point by doing a lead action. And then Haburat will be exhausted. He's all done, and I'm going to pass the token over to Alex.
So let's do the activation of Yami, my final character and of the red faction. She is going to move 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay, going for control of the center control point. Now the center control point inside the dome here is to fight over control of getting to summon the outsider. So it's a different goal, whereas this one is to control over the lanes and try to damage the enemy's minions and then the enemy tower. This one is to try to control the outsider, which will let you get a bunch of extra actions and attacks at the end of the round.
Yami's for her second action is obviously going to lead.
Ah.
And yeah, I'm going to pass my last action. Yeah, so I'm going to pass my last action. I'm going to leave her there. And it is now to the captain.
Okay. Well, exhaust.
Oh, I'm sorry. She's exhausted, yes. She's exhausted. All that work.
So I have Gulbjarn as my last character to activate myself. So for the first action for Gilbarn, after I activate him, I'm going to shapeshift him into a werebear, which gives him +1 to his skirmish damage, and also allows him to use Ursine Rage, which does an area of effect of 3 spaces in front of him to damage multiple enemies in that area. Then for the second action, I'm going to do a skirmish action. So I'm going to move the 2 spaces and hit Alex's hero there in the dome with the skirmish, which again is now going to be 1 damage plus a card draw. It is now 2 damage to them. I do believe they have 1 armor though.
With her 1 armor, that brings her to a 17.
Yes. Okay. So she is quite tough. So that is my first 2 actions there. And for my final action, I am going to bank a card by playing lead with Gulbjarn, and then I will exhaust him and he will lose his shapeshifted action here for the rest of the round. So now we move on to the Minion Phase. The first thing we do in the Minion Phase is we determine the winner of each of the control points. We go in order of the numbers. So we have 1, 2, and then 3 here in the middle. And we're going to start with number 1, of course. So number 1, I have 2 minions here, plus 1 character, so for a total of 3 control to start with, and my character has a banked card, which when I flip over and reveal was a 1, so I have 4 control on this control point. Alex, what have you got?
I have 2 minions, 2 heroes, and a banked card, which was a 3.
Ooh, so a total of?
That gives me a total of 7.
Indeed it does, which means you beat me by 3, because that was brutal. So in which case, beating me by 3 means he's going to kill minions first. Now, both of my minions are going to be wiped out, and then if the control point was in range, which is again 3 spaces of my tower, he would do damage to my tower, but it's not. So the rest of the damage is going to be wasted. However, the difference that, again, it was 4 to 7, so 3 difference, he then gets to move the control point that many spaces directly towards my tower. So Alex, I'm going to guess 1, 2, 3 is okay?
Yeah, I'm right there.
Oh, you got it. I figured that seems to be the best way to go, because then you're also sort of heading towards my nexus for when you're done destroying my tower. Right. Now, once he moves it, his own minions get to be moved over there with it. The heroes stay behind. But then we both get to add 2 minions over there. Starting with Alex, you have to add them as close as possible to the control point. Again, minions from opposite ends of the conflict can share spaces. So Alex already has the space on the control point occupied. He's getting some adjacent ones. I'm going to take the control space on the control point and 1 here. Starting in next round, if Alex wins this control point, he's going to start doing damage to that tower. Now we're going to move on to the tower over here. So I have 2 heroes within range of the tower. I have 2 minions, that's 4, and I did bank a card with one of those heroes. Let's flip it up. It was a 2. Woo. So I have a total of 6 control on the number 2 control point. Alex, what have you got?
I only have 1 hero and a banked card of 3, so that's 4 total, so that's a +2 in your...
Right. And now there are no enemy minions to kill this time, but I still get my 2 movement towards Alex's side of the board. So I'm going to move the control point 2 spaces towards Alex's tower, which is now in range of Alex's tower. So that is perfectly fine by me. You know what? I'm going to move this guy here. I'm going to move him right there. And yeah, so that worked out pretty well for me, actually. So yeah, each one of us took control of one of the control points and moved it towards the other player's tower. So that we would have to add 2 minions also to the other lane. You always get to add your 2 minions until your tower in that lane is destroyed. So as no towers on either of the lanes have been destroyed, we always get to add 2 minions at the end of a round. Now we'll see who controls the very important space that helps us summon the outsider. Now, we each have 1 hero fighting over the outsider's control point, and I banked a card. Did you bank a card?
I did.
Okay, I got a 3.
As do I. It's a push.
Oh, it's a push. We have exactly the same amount of control, which means no one summons the outsider for this turn. All right, so now we're going to move on by doing the end of turn, where we discard all of the power cards we left, if we had any that we left on our characters. Because the thing is, we didn't really play any because we weren't playing any level 1 power cards because it was only first turn. Each hero has an amount of mana equal to the current turn. So we'll see some more of these in turn 2. Alex had played a couple in turn 1, but we'll be seeing probably more in turn 2 once our characters are able to play 2-cost power cards. Characters are able to play any cards that have the same symbol on them and have a number of symbols, the same symbol on them as they have on the hero card, and have a number of symbols that are equal to or less than the current turn. So we discard any of the cards we had played. We draw 2 new cards for our hands. We discard down to 7 cards if we had more than 7 cards, and we ready all exhausted heroes. In regard to drawing cards, by the way, you draw 2 cards at the end of each round. You also get to draw 2 cards if you manage to destroy an enemy hero, and you get to draw 1 card in any turn in which you do damage to a tower. So now we're going to move on to turn 2. And Alex, who is starting us off with turn 2?
All right. I'm going to activate Sakoshi. I'm going to need the action point counter. He is going to perform an attack.
Oh, okay.
On this minion.
Okay. All right. So you draw a card, and it's how much damage? That's a big one. It's like 3. Oh, yeah.
It's like a 5 damage.
3. Oh, no, it's the best of the 2. So
I'm sorry, 4 damage.
So, okay. So, yeah. So, well, that minion is definitely destroyed.
He's going to then use a warship ability
Okay.
to mark
He can only mark
this
hero.
character, and that hero is
That is Habarat. So now with the marked, there are a bunch of cool effects that the red faction characters are able to do if they've marked people. Why don't you show that card to the camera and explain the effects?
So once Sakoshi marks someone, he gets Eagle Eye, which means that he has line of sight towards any marked enemy within 3 hexes.
Even if they're that doesn't.
Even if he can't see them.
That's great.
And then with the further activation of the warship ability, he can deal 1 plus a card draw damage to an enemy minion adjacent to that marked hero.
Yes. Very cool abilities.
And then for the final action, Sakoshi is going to move. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, hiding himself in the bushes there. All right, so is he all done?
That is it for Sakoshi. He is
all finished.
Exhausted.
Okay. I'm going to activate a Kuti, and for the first action, I'm going to do a worship action, which lets them move their illusion 3 spaces. So I'm going to move it up 1, 2, 3 over to here. Then I'm going to play the time glitch card, which gives a Kuti fast. Fast means they're going to get +2 movement on their activation. So I'm going to move a Kuti 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Normally they would only be able to move 3, but because I had fast, I was able to move much further. And for the final activation, I am going to play an attack on this one of your minions over here, which is going to do... Yeah, it's a +0, but it's 1 damage to him. So unless you have a card that's going to stop it, that should kill him. Because I have a ranged attack. So
yeah, Nope, I have nothing.
Okay, so they're going to die.
This guy goes.
Yes, and then now the illusion being next to another minion. Remember, she has the retribution effect. So I will also kill that minion as well. She's out of actions. I do just want to show. So playing this card again, it had a yellow symbol here. Akuti has the yellow symbol as well as the blue symbol for her runes, and this is the second turn, and this one only cost 1 rune, 1 mana to play, so it was fine. It was thoroughly within my wheelhouse. That's going to be it for her. I'm going to now exhaust her, and now that she just became exhausted, I am going to lose the fast condition.
All right, I'm going to activate Tlakali. Tlakali is going to perform a skirmish action. She's going to attack Koryoff with a skirmish ranged shot.
Okay, and that is going to be how much damage coming at Koryoff?
It's going to be just it's a skirmish, so it's just the card.
0 plus the card. Yeah,
that's just 0.
Okay, so nothing. So I get
nothing.
I'm okay.
And she's going to move 1, 2.
Okay,
that's the skirmish. Then move. Which brings her to 1.
Okay.
1, 2.
Okay.
And that gives, and then she's going to play Safeguard.
What does Safeguard do?
Adjacent friendly minions can't be damaged.
What? That's crazy. So you are now protecting 3 of the 4 minions that are over there fighting for that control point. Well done.
And then for her final action, she is going to attack again. Koryoff. With her 2 plus a card.
Go ahead, let's see it.
That's 2 plus 3. That's 5 damage.
Oh, and I have no armor. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That brings you all the way down to 8. Koryoff is having some trouble over there. All right, so you're all done?
Yep.
Excellent. So my turn. So I am going to activate Habarat. So let's see here. Habarat is going to start with a move, and he's going to go 1, 2, 3. Then Habarat is going to bank a random card with a lead action for his second action. And for his final action, he's going to do an attack on this hero here. What's that guy's name?
That is Sakoshi.
So it is 4 damage plus the better of the 2 cards. That is going to be 6 damage.
Woo!
That's a big hit.
6 damage.
Yeah, I think. And he doesn't even have any armor.
Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Wow, that really cut him down to size. And then that was his third action, so that will be it for Habarat, then he exhausts, and I lose the marked condition for exhausting.
Lost it. That was pretty good. So, activated Yami. Yami is going to use her first action as a warship
Okay.
to mark
Golbjorn?
Golbjorn.
Okay.
For her second action, she's going to do an attack. The attack with a marked enemy gives a +1 damage.
Okay, so now it's going to be... she's normally 2, so it's going to be 3 damage plus a card.
+1, so it's 4.
Okay, so 4, but I have 1 armor, so that's going to bring me down to 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3.
All right, so then with her final action, she is going to bank a card under lead.
Oh, boy.
So now we have...
Okay, my turn. I'm going to activate Golbjorn. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to start by doing my first action is I'm going to do attack back on her. Is 3 plus a card. That is a total of 3. It was a +0. So the bonuses we get are in this top right-hand corner. Unfortunately, I drew a +0, so that's only going to be the 3 damage at you.
Which becomes 2 with her armor.
With her armor. For my second action, I'm going to bank a card. I'm going to bank a blind card. And then for my third action, I am going to pull a skirmish, and I'm going to do the skirmish to her. The damage is 1, but she has an armor of 1, so that's going to be nothing. And then he's going to get to move 2 spaces. I'm going to just move onto the center space there just to kind of be in the middle of everything. And that's going to be it with Golbjorn. He's going to exhaust, and that will remove the marked condition from him.
Activate my final character, which is Kotlik. So he is going to skirmish.
Okay.
Which is going to do 1 attack.
Oh, I see. So how much damage am I taking?
0.
Oh, I got lucky. Second action?
Second action is going to be a straight up
Attack.
attack. Those aren't going to work. Straight up attack. That's going to give you
3 plus a card. That could be
that's
brutal.
3 plus. That's 5.
Oh, no. Okay, I am not doing well. She's all the way down to 3 hit points. What is your final action?
Final action is going to be bank a blind card.
Okay. So now that you're all done, it is my last hero. It's time to activate this round, and that is Karyov, who just took a whole bunch of damage and is near dead. So I'm going to want to get the heck out of danger while still contesting some over here a little bit. So I'm going to play Unfamiliar Terrain, which gives Karyov fast while giving one of my enemies in range slow. So I'm going to give slow to that big bruiser of yours. What is his name?
That is Kotlik. What does that do? Those cancel out then?
Yes, they will cancel out, so I will get to move normal speed again, because I have a +2 speed and a -2 speed. So yes, they will in fact cancel out. Then I'm going to... So my first actual action is I'm going to do a move, so I can move 3 since the speed counteracts the slow, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to attack the only minion that can be damaged, and do just 2 points of damage to it.
Which will be enough to make
him go away.
We'll go bye-bye.
Yes, indeed. Then for my third and final action with this character, I'm going to bank a card. I'm going to bank a card blindly by doing the lead action because I don't want to use any of the cards from my hand. So that's going to be it for them. I'm going to exhaust them, and that is going to be it for the hero phase because all 8 of our characters, all 4 of mine and 4 of Alex's, have activated for this hero phase on the second turn, which means we're going to move to the minion phase. We're going to see who's in control of each of the separate control points. So starting with control point 1, I have 2 minions and a hero. That's 3 points. And let's see what I got. I got a 2. Ooh. So that is a total of 5 control over here. What do you got, Alex?
I have 2 heroes and 3 minions, so that gives me 5. I did bank 1 card, and that was a 1, so that's a 6.
All right, so Alex beats me by 1, but I think I was fairly successful in
pretty good
in slowing down the bleeding here. So I'm going to lose 1 minion. Does it matter to you which one I lose?
Let's get rid of that guy.
Okay, so we're going to pull him off the board. Now, if Alex had done enough extra damage to wipe out more minions, and then also still have more points of damage left. It would have done damage to my tower because we're now in range. But it was actually close enough that we didn't. So let's move on to this one and see if that is still the case or not.
This
so now
one's gonna be tougher.
Also, another note: if you had banked cards on multiple heroes there, you would take the most valuable of the cards you banked, not add them together. It's always that way with any of the effects of cards. Like also when you do an attack and you draw multiple cards, it's always the most valuable. So over here, let's see here. I have 1, 2 heroes and 3 minions. So I have 5 total control points here before I even flip the card. I banked with the leadership action. And it is a 3.
Oh, that's not good.
So I got 8 control points. That is really good for me. What do you got over there, Alex?
I just have my single hero. No banked cards.
You didn't bank any cards? Oh, wow.
I did not, no.
Oh, this is going to be brutal. So that is going to turn down to a 7 that I beat him by, which means, let's see, you have no minions left, right?
Nope.
So I can completely wipe out the 5 hit points of the tower. Now to show, each tower starts with 2 hit point tokens and 1 hit point token. And when you wipe out one of your opponent's towers, what happens is you now make their nexus point vulnerable in the same way. And because the tower is gone, because these control points will freeze when they hit the tower, now I get to move 7 points towards my opponent's nexus. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then stop there. And my minions also will move in. And we forgot to show, we have to add 2 minions back each. Now you won here, so you get to add yours first.
And I'm gonna have to need a counter, so I'll use the white side of this.
Okay, because you're run out of minion miniatures.
I'm gonna go. Well, they have to go adjacent.
Yep.
So those are adjacent.
Okay, and I'm going to join in adjacent in the same 2 spaces is fine by me. And then over here, now I get to add 2 minions in there. However, Alex does not because his tower was destroyed on that side, which is very important. Now I can start working on destroying his nexus over here. So I had 1 there, and I'm going to add one of my faction tokens in as well, which I have to move 1 more space out because I'm completely surrounding the control point, and you just slowly work yourself out as you add more of your minions in there. Okay, so wow. So I was able to destroy one of those towers, which is a big blow to Alex there. Next, we're going to check on the control point in the middle of the table. Now, we each have 1 hero there, like we did last round, and we each banked a card. I blindly banked my card. Did you blindly bank yours?
I did not blindly bank mine.
I had a 2.
I had a 3.
Now these, again, you use the mana symbols, the runes on the side. So I only had 2. Alex had 3, which means he beats me. That means that now immediately Alex is going to get to summon the outsider. So in the case of this outsider, he can summon it straddling the line between the dome in the center of the board and outside of the dome, and then he can do 3 actions with it like a hero. So where is your giant monster going to be summoned up?
Well, I would love to put him here, but you have fully filled in that area.
Yeah, indeed I have.
All right. Okay, so this is the outsider. He is going to be played right there.
So this particular outsider, the one that comes in the basic box, again, has the rule that he has to be straddling the line around the dome in the middle of the board, which means he is going to have line of sight to things inside and outside the dome. All right, Alex, so what are you going to do for his 3 actions? He's got a bunch of choices on his card there.
So the outsider card, as you can see here, you have Divine Conduit, which is you target a friendly hero and take a worship action. Shockwave is deal damage to target hero and push them, and then Instill Energy is you draw 1 power card.
And also they have a normal ranged attack that has 3 power plus, of course, drawing a card plus from power.
Right. So I think I'm going to do a normal attack. So I'm going to do a ranged attack on Ahuti here, and with the 3 plus a card.
All right, so what's the damage coming at Akuti?
Well, that's going to be 5.
Okay, now she does have the 1 armor because of her illusion that is up on that side of the board, thankfully. So it drops down to 4. So she's going to take 4 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Still a sizable amount of damage. All right, what's your second action with him?
The second action is going to be a Shockwave.
Oh, okay. Who's that coming at?
That's
Akuti again?
That deals 0
plus a card.
Piercing damage to a target hero and pushes them 2 hexes, which is the key here.
And well, piercing also means it ignores my armor.
Correct.
So, okay, so what are you going to hit me with?
So this is going to be...
Go ahead, draw it.
A +1.
So it's going to be 1 damage, no armor, and it can push me away. So now, for pushing, I always have to get further away from you. So really, all you can push me to is up to 2 spaces. You can push me over to here if you want.
Yes, and that's where we're going to go.
Okay. All right, and then what is your final action going to be?
I'm going to pull a card.
Okay. All right, so that's it. So now at this point, we would move into the final phase of the turn for the second turn. But you can see here how you can use your control over the control points to move them and to eventually do damage to the towers, as well as to summon up the outsider to do a bunch of extra actions and all sorts of cool things. Now, to give you an idea of how you can possibly win, if you destroy the tokens on your opponent's nexus, once you make them show up, you would win the game. In addition, if you get any of the requirements on any of the victory cards over here, you would also win the game. And Alex started working on the requirement to this one here, this Skytear Master. Win the lead of a control token inside the dome 3 times. He got it once. If he got it 2 more, he would also win. In addition, the other ones we had up this game were Invasion. Starting from the second turn, have 2 control tokens adjacent to enemy towers or nexuses at the end of the turn. Now, this was not possible for us to do because 1 control token went all the way to one side of the board and 1 went to the other, so no one was doing well on that. And then the final one was Onslaught, which is defeat 3 enemy heroes. Now, Alex is really close to defeating one of my enemy heroes. I'm moderately close to defeating one of his, but otherwise, yeah, you can see how that could happen. And there's tons of other cards with all sorts of win conditions that could do all sorts of cool stuff, which keeps this game varied. So now we're going to head back over. We're going to talk about how this game plays and how it feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, welcome back. So that is how you play a game of Skytear. We ran you through 2 full rounds, which is a lot. Hopefully I'm able to edit that down to a reasonable amount, because that's actually a fairly sizable amount of game time.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot to this game. There's a lot going on. I hope you got a good feel and understanding on generally how this game plays. We probably weren't able to include every rule, because there's just so much.
Right.
But we talked about most of it.
It was a pretty good sample size of what you can expect to play in the game. We used the special abilities for the factions. I think we used that. Everyone had their at least once used a special ability. Yeah. Your guy shapeshifted. I used a marker.
I summoned the spirit, the illusions,
and I put the pillars up. So it shows you kind of like what to expect with the game. Now we only did
2 rounds,
2 full rounds, which is
it's still sizable. That game though.
Close to.
Yeah, we destroyed a tower.
Yeah.
The other tower was getting damaged.
Right.
So it was we were at that point. We were doing pretty well. So that said, yeah. So there is a lot to this game. So it's a area control game. It's a hand management game. You had mentioned in the intro. It is it's made to emulate and represent the old MOBA video games. It has a lot of tactics and strategy. A lot of card play and combinations of effects. There's a lot going on here.
One of the things we didn't really get to show you was how the stacking ability on the cards, and how we mentioned it, but showing how you can counter and recounter,
which is very smart. It makes it very it's very clean. They borrowed the mechanic from Magic the Gathering of the stack, which is a very clean mechanic and it works well in a lot of games, and that's one I don't begrudge anyone borrowing, because it's just a really good way to do kind of like spell or action cards. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some negatives though, so we can end on positives.
Okay.
Do you have any negatives? Do you have a negative you want to call out for Skytear?
My chief negative is that I feel like there's too much going on. I feel like
bit overwhelming.
I think they overdid it by a third. I think if they're
I'm going to disagree, but I hear you.
Yeah, I think if they should have pared it down a little bit. Either reduce the number of win conditions, reduce the number of objectives, or reduce the number of effects that you can be doing at once. Because you have 3 actions, plus cards, plus a stacking ability, plus special abilities. And they're all done concurrently and every turn.
I'm gonna adjust your complaint slightly to just saying there's a bit of a learning curve with this one.
I agree, and I felt better the second time playing it than the first time. But still, I think
I think a lot of average people will need a full game of this just to wrap their head around it, and that full game being a couple of hours is going to be a time commitment just to fully understand this game. So be aware of that. This is probably more on the side of for hobby gamers.
Yes.
Now, on my side, like where I used to love playing those games that had rule books that had decimal points for the sections in the rule books, this is right up my alley. This is the kind of game like I wouldn't have been surprised if the rule book had decimal points in it, because that's how it felt to me.
Yes.
This is something on that level where you're going to be like, well, in section 6.1 it says, you're going to cite specific rules, and they are very. One thing okay, well, hold on. First off, I'm about to go running rampant with positives. I don't have any negatives, really.
Okay.
Except to slightly agree that there is a learning curve. But that's only a negative I see for other people, because I don't find that a negative. I was good and understood this about halfway through my first game.
Right.
And I was getting combos and doing stuff and really getting into it. You took a little longer, but once you got into the second game, you're like, okay, I'm getting it now.
I was getting it now, but I understood what was the intent and how to manage it and move things along.
Yeah.
But it still felt like I was trying to do too many things at once, and I didn't. So I didn't quite. I wasn't fully settled.
It might have been a little heavier than you would like then.
I think it is. It's a bit of a heavier. I think it looks like a lighter game than it is. So if you put Twilight Imperium on the table, everybody knows you're dealing with a big game.
Yeah.
This game says 45 minutes on the side. That's not, I don't think that's
so.
True.
This is not quite Twilight Imperium level in regard to level of complexity, but it's definitely heavier than what you would think of for 45 minutes. So be aware, this is probably your first game is probably more like a 2-hour game of this, and this is a heavier game. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
That said, and again, I would firmly put this in heavy. I mean, once you played a couple games of it, you were getting into it, and you were like, okay, now I get this. I understand how it goes. Right. So, I mean, would you play it again?
I would, but I would be much happier with it, and I would play it more often if it were more.
Okay.
If it were not, like I said, if it was a third less complicated.
Do you have any more negatives you want to talk about?
No, because everything other than that is actually really, really well.
Okay, so let's get into some positives then. Throw out a positive.
Excellent game design. The miniatures are great.
Whoa! Come on, let me get some.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's talk about yours though. All right, excellent game design.
Yeah.
This is one of those games where, like, once you understand all the rules, they are.
It's well thought out, and everything's the way everything. Like I said, there's a lot going on, but everything that goes on, I think you used the word intuitive.
It's very intuitive.
Once you get going down a path, you understand what it means and how to get there. It's just, in my opinion,
everything's just. It's clean.
Right.
There's
too many paths, but there's
really a lot of rules, which could be confusing to new gamers. But it's also like all the rules are very clean and easy to understand on their own. So like the line of sight is like anything within 3 spaces, as long as you don't cross a white line, and as long as you're not trying to hit somebody who's hiding in a bush that doesn't have an ally of yours next to you to spot for you. Simple, very easy on its own. It's just that along with the stack and along with the mechanics of all the other things you found a little overwhelming at first, but each of the rules individually, very intuitive.
Sure, and they're none of it's like revolutionary. It's all borrowed and copied from other games and in other.
But done in a really great way and a new combination of effects. Also, now you said the production.
Yes, very good.
A thing I want to call out, my favorite by far. So cardboard tokens are cardboard tokens. The board looks beautiful. The artwork on the cards looks really nice. But my hands down favorite of the components in here is the miniatures.
Not surprising.
The miniatures are amazing. Yeah. Like specifically the big monster, the outsider. I love him. He's fantastic. He looks so cool. What about you? Is it the miniatures for you too?
The miniatures are very impressive. Actually, the detail, even on the really tiny little minions, the detail is pretty substantial. And I can see why people would like to paint them.
Yeah. They show painted ones on the back here.
But the artwork is great, and actually the kind of like the what they put on top of the different elements, the 4 different factions in the standard game. You've got like a samurai theme, you've got this Aztec theme, you've got these like shapeshifters, and then you have a
kind of like Egyptian, I think.
Like a Egyptian, but they also almost have like a a Roman legionary like quality to them.
Mediterranean, maybe we'll say.
Okay, Mediterranean. So it's cool how they like use the fantasy element and then put all these sort of different aspects to it. So it was really well thought out, the design and the production.
The design and production is absolutely fantastic. And now, so the game is just, in my opinion, very well thought out. They obviously planned to expand, because I was looking on their website. Now, they gave me this copy at Gen Con to do a review to, and I was looking on the website. They've got a ton of expansions. New heroes, new cards, new monsters. There are new outsiders. There's a ludicrous amount of stuff, and I was drooling over this. After playing our first game of this, I was like, oh my god, I want to try out all these other heroes.
I think having like another 4 factions would really make this interesting.
Well, I think they do extra heroes for each of the existing factions, so you can customize and do different heroes.
Okay, I guess it's the same thing, but you have to be. One other thing you have to be careful with is how you pick your factions, because with the standard game, there's only 4 heroes, and the factions don't necessarily play well with each other if you're picking the wrong one.
Yeah, so, each of them plays well with 2 other possible factions.
Right.
So, like, we found this out that, for instance, specifically, blue does not play well with red, and green does not play well with yellow. Correct. But blue will play well with yellow or green.
Yes.
Green will play, and then, each of them has 2 factions they will play well with. And the reason is the symbols on the characters that tell you what kind of spells they can cast. So, the reason blue will play good with yellow or green is that blue has 1 hero each that can cast yellow spells or green spells, and both green and yellow, the same, have 1 hero each that can cast blue spells.
Right.
So, with either one of those that you combine up, you're going to be able to have more of your heroes that can cast more of those power cards and getting the effects going, which is really, really cool. So, definitely pay attention to that when deciding what factions to draft. It is interesting to draft both you and your opponent drafting factions that don't work well together, because then you're playing more restrictively, but I think it's more fun to have.
You will not likely have a stack.
Yeah, you're not going to be playing as many cards. Right. Yeah, but the game is just fun. It's really cool. It's very tactical. It's very strategic. They have, so I love also, and this is something we got to talk about. We'll talk about how the gameplay is fun. We'll talk about all the mechanics we like. So there's area control. You're trying to control the control tokens in the middle to summon the outsider, and the outsides to move the control tokens to destroy each other's towers. And then the nexus. You've got variable win conditions, which means no 2 games are going to be alike.
Right.
Because you've always got 1 win condition, which is destroy your opponent's nexus. That's the same, but then there are 3 other win conditions that there's 10 cards that could come up. So you'll have 3 possible cards of the 10 cards coming up each game that are always going to be different combinations of effects.
Right.
Which is really cool. Which really, we played a game where there are 2 cards that have effects about the outsider, and suddenly controlling the dome was ludicrously more important. And we were just literally trying to take the dome constantly all game.
Right.
Which was really cool. There's tons of really cool stuff like that. But in addition, there's also a ton of options in here. And that also increases variability. You've got different modes of play.
Yeah, different gameplay, yeah.
You've got, they have, so if you find it too complicated, they have a simpler version where you take away all the special abilities from the heroes and they just have their stats. So you take away a whole element of the game to simplify it. You can use that as training wheels, or you could use it if like Alex, you're just like, yeah, this is a little too much. You could just tone it down, pull it back a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Right.
And that's cool. But then in addition, if you're like me, there's more advanced version where you can draft individual heroes, and draft cards and do deck customization. Now, there's not enough cards in here to do deck customization with the base set. You'd have to get some of the expansions, but then you can get really into customizing your forces. And they got, up on their website, they have tournament rules and stuff. People are running tournaments in this.
All right.
Which I thoroughly understand.
It's complicated enough to do it.
It definitely is. Okay, anything else did you want to talk about? Anything else to do with Skytear?
No, I think that's it. I think we covered pretty much a good portion of it. There's a lot going on here. Okay, so I'm obviously far more excited than Alex is. So I'm going to let Alex rate it first, I think, because I think I'm going to be higher. So I would give this after the first time I played this, I was pretty frustrated with it, and I would probably have given it a 5 after that. The second time, once I got much more comfortable with it, I think it's a 6.5 in my book.
All right, so you're 6.5 is positive. That's positive, but it means like you would need to be in the mood to play it.
I would need to be in the mood to play it. I feel slightly misled
because of the 45 minutes
by this game. Yeah, the way this.
But you did like it once you got.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just this is not. This is getting into something much deeper than I would normally.
I'm really glad.
Play with.
I'm really glad I went last.
Yeah, I know where you're gonna be.
Oh, where am I gonna be?
I'm guessing a 9.
Holy yes, but how did you? Yeah, okay. Is it just because of how?
Yeah.
Emphatic I am.
I can tell you.
Yeah, I'm a 9 out of 10 stars. I love this game. This game is so much fun. I want to, I was telling Alex off camera, I want to collect all the expansions. Mm-hmm. I want to play all the other characters. I want to see what all the other outsiders do. There's like hundreds of dollars worth of expansions out there. It's insane. And again, thank you guys so much for this copy to review and play. I think I'm going to purchase a bunch of other stuff from you guys. And I mean, I don't think there's a recommendation I can give higher than, after I got a game for free, I want to spend hundreds of dollars on the expansions.
That's pretty resounding endorsement, yeah.
Right? So, I want to spend hundreds of dollars on the expansions because I want to play the heck out of it. I hope that you'll play it with me once in a while because I really love this game. Yeah. It's absolutely fantastic.
I didn't hate it. After playing it more, I felt better with it. But.
So you had a thumb up. I had a thumb way up.
Yeah, way up. Yeah.
So I really love Skytear. This game is absolutely fantastic. This is absolutely what I want in a hex-based battle strategy game or a MOBA style game, either, which it's both. It's a battle strategy and kind of a MOBA style game. I love this. This is absolutely fantastic. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns either on this video or on the game of Skytear, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this review and tutorial and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like. Share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.